So what's that got to do with anything? We're
What's
talking about
the matter with you?
You have run cover for Donald Trump. Piers, do you agree? Do you agree that Donald Trump is mad, nuts, deranged, and mentally unfit for office? Do you agree with that? Do you agree with that or not?
Why do you do this? Why don't you just...
Do you agree he's mad,
Why don't you
nuts?
just say, Mehdi?
There are debates where nobody gives ground. And then there are moments like this where even a defender concedes instability. That word, nutty, changes the atmosphere, because what follows isn't just partisan disagreement. It's a methodical argument about sealed files, redactions, contradictions, and whether transparency is being selectively applied. Now watch how the discussion unfolds step by step without interruption.
That's a huge scandal. Richard Nixon was, organizing a burglary at the Democratic National Committee headquarters. Donald Trump is accused in these files. I want to be clear, he's a very litigious man. There's no evidence of criminality on Donald Trump's part, but there are accusations from people the FBI interviewed in the files claiming all sorts of things about Donald Trump having allegedly done sex acts with children, assaulted children, threatened children. We have no idea if they're true or not. I have no evidence to say they're true. But shouldn't they be investigated?
Well, we do. No, well, hang
more?
on. This is why you have to be careful. Well, hang on. This is where you have to be careful, because we do, because in the more extreme cases like that, they've been investigated and they've been ruled out as fantasy stuff or people trying to be malicious or whatever it may be.
Not all of them, Piers.
Actually, everything in relation to criminality.
I agree with you.
Well, no. Everything in relation to Trump that involved alleged criminality has been ruled out. And the reason I'm comfortable in saying that is I interviewed David Boies yesterday. He was Virginia Giuffre's lawyer, one of the top criminal lawyers in modern American history. He's looked at everything and he says there's nothing criminal against Trump. And I do think it's important to say that. I don't think his motivation, Trump, in trying to shut this down is about himself. I think it's actually about a lot of people he knows.
Notice the shift. The defense moves from facts to motive.
Well, I agree with that. And he told Marjorie Taylor Greene, according to MTG, that you're going to hurt my friends, which in itself is a massive scandal. And I think you would agree if he is covering up for rich and powerful friends. We know how many Trump people are in the files in very awkward positions, lying about their relationships, from Elon Musk to Howard Lutnick, Mehmet Oz, multiple. That's why Thomas Massie is now calling this the Epstein administration. But just on Trump, I just want to mention a couple of things. I just brought this along just to remind myself. Donald Trump traveled on Epstein's private jet many more times than has previously been reported, or that we were aware. That's an email from one of his own DOJ lawyers in 2020. Trump lied, Piers, when he said he never went on the plane. He went on the plane 8 times. We know, for example, that Epstein wrote in 2011, Donald Trump spent hours at my house with a victim. He referred to Trump being at his house as the dog that hasn't barked. He said in 2019, Trump knew about the girls. Now, he could be lying, Epstein. He's a horrible, convicted sex offender. But the point is, we've not had full investigations. The media has barely touched this, Piers. There's been a lot of coverage of Prince Andrew and Thiel and Elon Musk and Reid Hoffman and all sorts of people. Katie Couric. There hasn't actually been that much coverage of Donald Trump's own relationship with Epstein as much as there should have been. If this was any other president or politician, this would be a huge scandal.
Now the argument narrows to documentation.
And I agree with you on the kind of, we haven't got evidence of criminality, but I just want to show, this is in the Epstein files, right? This is page 21. This is a 21-page FBI a PowerPoint presentation. This is the page they have from last summer called Prominent Names. Donald Trump's at the top with 2 allegations in there. Now, I'm not saying those are proven allegations, but the idea that we as a media, that the American public's not even familiar with those allegations, I think we need to be talking much more about what a huge scandal this is and how many lies have been told by the people in power, not just Donald Trump. And I know Bill Clinton is going to have his day to talk about what were his relationships with Epstein as well. Piers, I'll say this, one last point. I no longer can just laugh at people who come up with conspiracy theories anymore. I can't. I used to be very dismissive of conspiracy theories.
No, I agree.
When it comes to this, we have seen the lies and the cover-up.
Do you know what? I said the other day, I would literally now be prepared to believe any conspiracy theory relating to the Epstein scandal, because so much of it is actually coming true. That who the hell knows, right? I mean, I just think the idea...
Although you're quick to defend your pal Donald Trump, who was close to him.
No, I'm only quick to defend him about one part of this, which is there's a lot of stuff in those files that is clearly fantastical, malicious, and was investigated and
but there's a lot of stuff redacted, Piers.
No, I agree, but there's no...
How do we know?
There's been
How
no
do we
evidence.
know the full extent of this?
Well, it's a perfectly valid point.
Agreed, but there hasn't been a full investigation.
Not a verdict, a visibility problem.
But there hasn't been a full investigation.
I agree with
you would
that.
agree with that, Piers.
And I'm with you.
Kash Patel and Pam
Mehdi,
Bondi shutting it down. Why is the director of the FBI and the Attorney General shutting it down?
Mehdi, you're preaching to the choir. I've been saying the same thing. There should
I love it when we
absolutely
agree.
be full
I
transparency.
love it when we agree, Piers.
I always feel a bit disconcerted when we agree. Let's talk about something else. It's interesting because let's assume a scenario here which plays out. I said on my show on Monday, we were talking about the polling for Trump and the midterms coming up pretty soon now, right? We're nearly in March. You've got midterms in November. It is highly likely, the way things are looking, that the Republicans will get a big beating in the midterms unless something extraordinary happens, which it might. But if they do and they lose control of the House, then any president in that position pretty much becomes a lame duck president. And if that happens, it's a free-for-all for what happens next, both amongst his own party and, of course, the Democrats. The Democrats don't really have yet, to me, anyone clearly coming through in the way that Bill Clinton did or Barack Obama did, which is a massive problem for the party. One of their leading lights is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And I watched this clip of her. She went down to the Munich conference, I think to sort of show her global, aspirations and how smart she was and so on.
Trust erodes when disclosure feels incomplete.
And ended up getting pretty well ridiculed for a few things, but one of which was her explanation when she was asked by a friend of mine, actually, would and should the US commit troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move? And she said this.
Would and should the US actually commit US troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
I think that this is such a, I think that this is of course a very long-standing policy of the United States. And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point. And we want to make sure that we are moving in all of our economic research and our global positions to avoid any such confrontation and for that question to even arise.
Now, if Donald Trump had come out with that, you'd have gone, what the fuck is he talking about? That is a load of gibberish word salad nonsense. So in the cause of intellectual honesty, Mehdi Hasan, would you say that what we just heard was a load of gibberish word salad nonsense?
Unexpected agreement. Transparency becomes the central demand.
No, I think what we heard was not her finest hour in terms of articulating an answer on a very complicated subject. I was awkward watching that. It's obviously not great to and ah for 20 seconds. I wrote a book about public speaking. You know that I've addressed these issues and people who do public speaking. It wasn't a great moment for her, but the idea that that summed up her presence at Munich is actually what I would question the premise of your entire discussion. You just played a clip from an account. I noticed where you played it from. It's a well-known right-wing MAGA Twitter account. The right are very good, peers, aided and abetted sometimes by your good self, in pushing narratives about Democratic politicians to brand them.
Why does it matter where it came from?
2000, they did it to... It does, because, for example, she gave fantastic answers on inequality, on Gaza, on authoritarianism. She spoke to a packed crowd in Berlin the next day. She met with the SPD. She met with the far left. No one mentions any of that. Instead, everyone in the US media is talking about this because the right wants you to talk about this. That's my first point, that this is a very manufactured narrative. And number two, it's not at all equivalent to Trump here. Trump could never say even half of what she said about Taiwan. Her answer, actually, at the end, which is we shouldn't get to that point, is actually the right answer. When Trump, I checked, because I knew you were going to ask me about this, I checked before I came on air. Trump was asked about Taiwan a few months ago, and he couldn't answer the question. He said, it's a secret. I can't tell you what my position is. Well, that's much better. In fact, this week, Piers, forget rhetoric. Do you know what Trump said about Taiwan? He told reporters on Monday that he's checking with the Chinese president before he sells arms to Taiwan. That goes against a 42-year long-standing US policy on Taiwan that Ronald Reagan set up. Not me, Ronald Reagan set up. So you can go on about AOC's 20-second umming and ahhing, which wasn't great for AOC, I admit. Or we could talk about the fact that Donald Trump has a very bad policy on Taiwan that goes against US traditional national security policy. And we could talk about the fact that Donald Trump's sentences make AOC look like the most eloquent woman in history. What are you talking about? Have you heard Donald Trump rant about shark attacks?
The subject pivots, but the tension remains.
about the size of Arnold Palmer's penis, about toilet flushing. AOC's never said anything like that. Donald Trump, hold on, I haven't finished. Donald Trump went to Davos, Piers. Did you play the clip? Did you play the clip, in the interest of fairness and intellectual honesty, to quote you, did you play the clip of Donald Trump in Davos calling Greenland Iceland again and again and again? He went to Davos and embarrassed himself, calling it Iceland. And by the way, worse than calling it Iceland, he wants to invade Greenland. No Democrat has ever suggested anything as mad as going to war with Denmark as Donald Trump. So please don't come here and talk about gibberish and intellectual honesty. Your pal is the most deranged person to ever get close to any top office anywhere in the West.
Do you know what? I haven't heard such a strident piece of apology since Comical Ali in the Iraq War, when he was trying to explain why the Americans
everything I said was true, and you can't dispute a word of it. Did you play Donald Trump's clip at Davos? Did you play on this show?
The Americans are not
on this show. Let me answer. Did you play a clip of your pal Donald Trump saying Greenland is Iceland? Yes or no?
Mehdi, yes, multiple times. And more than that, I interviewed the Prime Minister. Wait a minute. Yes, and more than that, I interviewed the Prime Minister of Greenland as well. Did you?
So what's that got to do with anything? We're
what's the matter with you?
You have run cover for Donald Trump. Piers, do you agree? Do you agree that Donald Trump is mad, nuts, deranged, and mentally unfit for office? Do you agree with that? Do you agree with that or not?
Why do you do this? Why don't you just...
Do you agree he's mad,
why don't you
nuts?
just say, Mehdi?
I mean, it's a simple question, Piers. People are watching. Do you agree that Donald Trump is mad, deranged,
it's not your show,
and unfit for office? Because those are your words, Piers. Those are your words.
When I come on your show,
your words.
When I come on your show, when I come on,
you call Donald Trump deranged, mad,
time out,
and nuts.
When I know, and occasionally I think he is those things. And as you know, I've said it when I think he is, and when I think he deserves praise, I give him praise. My point is, though, that you're
overall you accept
blinkered about AOC. No, I think sometimes he's perfectly normal and lucid. Sometimes he does nutty things.
In this part of the discussion, the atmosphere becomes noticeably more focused and deliberate. The exchange moves away from surface-level talking points and shifts toward deeper clarification. Instead of loud interruptions or emotional reactions, what unfolds is a controlled and strategic conversation. The host maintains composure while pressing for specific answers. Each follow-up question is structured to narrow the discussion and prevent the issue from drifting into general statements. That steady line of questioning gradually exposes the strength or weakness of the arguments being presented. What becomes clear is the contrast between confidence and precision. Strong claims are made, but when asked to provide detail or direct justification, the responses occasionally become broader and less exact. It's in those moments that the real tension appears, not through raised voices, but through hesitation and careful wording. There's no need for dramatic framing here. The power of this exchange lies in its restraint. The pauses, the slight shifts in tone, and the effort to maintain control under scrutiny all reveal more than overt confrontation ever could. This segment highlights how effective political interviews rely on persistence rather than aggression. Calm pressure often forces clearer revelations than emotional debate. The discussion remains civil, but the underlying challenge is unmistakable. By the end of this exchange, viewers are left with a sharper understanding of where both sides truly stand, not because of spectacle, but because steady questioning brings clarity. And, sometimes, quiet scrutiny speaks louder than noise.